the one, the only, Ben Sion.
Good afternoon and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube Just Daf as we continue Maseches Gittin Daf Nun Ches number 58. We're concluding the Agarit of the Chorban Abayis today. We're back to regular Maseches Gittin. Let's start from the bottom of Nun Zayim Abayis, the last line. Amar Rabba Brachana Amar Yochanan Our Boim saw Kitzutze, the top of Nun Chem and Aleph Kuzay Tefillah Nimso Baroshe Haruge Beitar. Talk about destruction of Beitar. There were 40 saw, a large amount of tefillin. People that are killed, they were wearing tefillin. Rabbi Yanai, Rabbi Shmuel, Amar Shalosh Kupos Shalar Boim Arbaim Saw. There were actually 3 boxes, each contained 40 saw of tefillin boxes. Arbaim Kupos Shalosh Saw. The Brisa says it was the opposite. It was 40 boxes, each had 3 saw. Nonetheless, according to both explanations, 120 saw weight of tefillin boxes. V'lo pligi. Right, the first explanation was there was 40 saw. In the last 2 explanations, there was 120 saw. Lo pligi, had the reisha, had the dara, the one of the head that weighed 3 times the amount of the ones on the arm. Why is that? Because they're bigger. They weighed more. The tefillin on the yad were smaller. Were a third smaller than the tefillin of the head. Amar Asi, Arba Kabin Moach. Nimsu al Evan Achas. This is kind of disgusting. There were 4 calves. Kav equals 24 beitzas, 24 eggs. But 24 times 4, do the math, 96. 96 eggs worth brain mush on Nimsu al Evan Achas was found on 1 stone in Beitar. Ula Amar Tisha Kabin. It was actually 9 kabin. Amar of Kahana Vitema Shila Bar Mari Mikra. What's the pasuk? Bas Bavel. How do you know the brains were mushed on the stones? Bas Bavel Hashaduda, the daughter of Babel Hashaduda that was taken spoiled. Ashrei Shalom Lach, Ashrei Sheilchaz V'nipetz Esol Alayich El Hasela. The pasuk says that we demand, or the Navi demands, that Hashem take revenge for the people that something that happened, and the revenge to be taken is that the young children of Babel their heads should be knocked against the rock. Which is a reference to Mida Keneged Mida for what they did to Klal Yisrael. B'nei Tzion Yikarim HaMesulaim B'Paz. My Mesulaim. What does this pasuk mean? The pasuk in Eicha, Paz is a very special stone. Some say it's gold. Ilema Dahavu Machapi B'Piza. If you literally mean that the children of Tzion of Eretz Yisrael were covered in gold, Amri Dever V'Shila Tarti Miskli Istari Pisa Nachas Baal Machada Baroma Machada B'Chulei Alma. There were 2 measurements of gold that came to the world. Half is in Rome, and half is in the rest of the world. So there wasn't that much in Eretz Yisrael. They were so beautiful, the children of Israel, that it made the beautiful gold look disgusting or disgraceful. How beautiful was it? How beautiful were these children? The noblemen in Rome, when they were together with their wives, they wanted to look at something beautiful, so they had their signet rings with nice, beautiful figures of women. From then on, when they conquered Eretz Yisrael in the base of Migdash, they had beautiful children of Israel. I guess both boys and girls. They used to tie them to the foot of their beds, and they would look at them when they were together. Amarle Chad Lechavre, one of these children said to his friend, Aika Ksiva, is there a pasuk in the Torah references this kind of korban? Amarle Gam Kol Choli V'Kol Makesh Alakos B'Sefer Torah Zos. Pasuk says, in part of the Klolos, all the sicknesses and any affliction, even that's not written in the Sefer Torah, this was a reference to these afflictions. Amar Kama Marchikna Miduchta Plan. He said, how far am I away from getting there? He was learning the Sefer Torah at that time. Amar Lei Ingid Pusta Opalgu. You're a column and a half away. He was learning the Kolos. Amar Lei Matar Legabe Lo Istrichalach. If I would have gotten to that pasuk, I would have known that's what it meant. Amar Ravid Amar Shmuel Mishum Rashim Gamliel Mai Dechsiv Any Olol Enafshim Kol Benos Irai Arba Meos Bati Knesios Hayu Bekraf Beitar. There were 400 synagogues in Beitar. Each one of these synagogues I guess they were pretty big. They had 400 school teachers. Each one of the school teachers taught 400 small children. Shel Beis Rabban, that were in Cheder, that were young children. When the Romans came to Beitar to destroy it, they would take their spears and they would pierce them. They would fight against the Romans. When the Romans got stronger and they defeated them, they captured them. They wrapped them in the Sefer Torahs and they burnt them on fire. There was an incident of Yeshua ben Chananya. He went to the biggest city in Rome. I don't know. I guess that's Rome. Rome is a city in Italy. There's one young child in jail. Yafei Naim. He has beautiful eyes. Tov Ro. He is beautiful. The Kvutzov Sudoros Lo. Taltolim. He has beautiful hair. Halach v'amar al Pesach Beis HaSurim. He stood by the entrance to the jail. Amar min asam Meshisa Yaakov v'Yisrael abozim. He heard about this child. He said about this child, the pasuk, who gave Klal Yisrael to be destroyed and Yisrael to be looted. Ana osa sa tinok v'amar halo Hashem zu chatanu lo v'lo avu b'drachav halach v'lo shamo b'torasto. The pasuk, the child answered, "It's Hashem who delivered us like this. We've sinned against Him. We didn't follow in His ways. We didn't listen to His Torah." Amar, when Rishoy Chananya heard this, Muvdachani bo shemora hara b'Yisrael, I guarantee you, he's gonna eventually teach Torah in Klal Yisrael. Avoda she'eni zaz mikana shavdenu. He promised at that time, I am going to redeem him for whatever money it takes. B'chol mamon shaba'olam. B'chol mamon shaposkanala. Whatever they'll demand. Amru lo amru. They said, lo zazim misham at shabado mamon harbe. He spent a lot of money, but he redeemed them. Lo yam muatin at shahora rabbi Yisrael. Eventually, he became a huge Talmud Chacham. Man Rishmal ben Elisha. Amar Rav Yehuda Marav. Ma'isiv b'no bito Rishmal ben Elisha. So this is in the end of the story. Rishmal ben Elisha, he had a son and a daughter. Shenishbulish they had done, and they were taken captured by two Roman masters. They met each other, these two Roman noblemen. I have a beautiful Eved. She's the most beautiful maidservant. Let's marry them off. So they'll have children. We'll split them up. They put them in a room. Yashav b'karen zaviz l'cheder. Yashav b'karen zaviz. Each one sat in a corner. I'm from a family of Kohanim Gedolim. Yishmael ben Elisha was a Kohen Gadol. As a Shivcha, I'm going to marry a woman who's a maidservant. Also, Maris, the girl would say, I'm the daughter of Yishmael ben Elisha, the Kohen Gadol. I'll be married to an Eved. The entire night they cried. They recognized their brother and sister. They fell on each other's shoulders and they cried out in tears until they died. Now it's hard for me to imagine people dying from crying. It probably means, what I would surmise that it means is that they refused to be together and the Romans killed them. And Conan Yirmiyah eulogized Al Ela Ani Bochaya Eini Yardamayim, the famous pasuk in Eicha, Eini, 2 tears, one for the boy, one for the girl. Amar Reish Lakish Ma'aseh Isha Achas. There was another incident with a woman. It was Safnas Bas Paniel. Her name was Safnas Bas Paniel. Safnas, she was called Safnas Shakol Sofim Yofi. Everyone gazed at her. She was so beautiful. Bas Paniel, daughter of Paniel, Bido Shakol Gadol. She was also the daughter of a Kohen Gadol. Shemesh Lifnai, but the thing was called Paniel because he served inside the Kodesh HaKodashim. She was Al Bas Shavai. Someone captured her and he raped her. Kol Alayla, the entire night. Lamachar El Bisha Shiva Chalukim. He clothed her in 7 garments. He wanted to sell her as a maidservant, Ba'adam, or the prostitute, Ba'adam Echad, She'am Mechur B'Yoser, a really ugly person came. Amar Lo, Heranias Yofia, take off her clothes. And he said, beautiful Yish. Amar Lo, Reika. He said, you're an empty one. If you want to buy her, buy her. There's no one as beautiful as her entire world. Amar Lo, Ava Bikan, I still want to see her. Shita Shisha Chalukim, so he took off 6 of the robes, Vishvi, and the 7th one, Karata and Ispalsha Be'efer. She was so embarrassed, she ripped it open herself and she rolled in the ashes or the dust. Amr Lafanov, she said, Ribona Shalom, Malena Lo Chasta. If you're not going to have compassion on us, on Klal Yisrael, Kusha Shimcha Gibor Lamo Tachas, why are you concerned about Kusha Shemayim? Be'aleh Konen, Yomi eulogize about her. Bas Ami Chagri Sak Vispal Shiva Efer, the daughter of my nation, reference to this woman, she wore sackcloth and she covered herself in dirt or in ashes. Evel Yachid Asilach Mispaid Tamrurim Ki Pisom Yavo Hashoded Aleinu. And the pasuk continues, an avel for one person should have a tremendous eulogy because suddenly the looter comes upon us. Lo nemar alecha lo nemar aleinu. Alecha lo nemar. It doesn't say alecha on Klal Yisrael aleinu. K'vyachol alai v'alecha. The pasuk continues that Hashem is speaking through the nevuah that Hashem is imcha b'sara. Hashem is with us in the sun, and Hashem was answering her tefillos that He was suffering also and she suffered. What does the reference to this pasuk? They basically, someone stole from a man in his house, a man in his inheritance. There's a story of the man, and he had a rebbe. Article translated as a mentor, could have been his rebbe. His rebbe had a beautiful wife. He was an apprentice to a carpenter. Pamachas. That's why I guess he was a mentor. I guess he was a mentor to the carpenter. Pamachas husrach lavos. The master, right, the pedagogue, the professional carpenter needed money. Amrlo, shigar ishtcha esli. Send your wife to me, Belben. I'll give her the money. Shigar ishto esla. He sent his wife to his house. Shah ima shlosha yamim. She stayed with him for 3 days. Gemara doesn't say, but it sounds like they committed adultery. In the end of the Gemara, kadam abba etzlo. So the man went to him and he said, Amarlo ishti shagarti la'achechani. Where's my wife? Amarlo, ani b'tartia la'altar. When she came, I gave her the money. I sent her away. V'shamati shatinokos nitzalu b'derech. The young men, they had fun with her on the way. They raped her. Amarlo ma'aseh. What should I do? He asked him, what should I do? Amarlo imata shamei ala'itzasi. If you listen to my advice, gersha. Divorce her, right? She's someone who's defiled. She's someone who, is cheapened. She's a zona, a prostitute. Amarlo ksuvasa, or she was raped. Amarlo ksuvasa maruba. I don't want to divorce her. Ksuva is a lot of money. Amarlo anil vecha. He said, I'll lend you the money. V'sein la ksuvasa, and give her ksuva. Amad zevigirsha. He listened to the advice. He divorced her. Halachu v'nasa. He went and he married her. Kemen shegias mano. This is the student, the apprentice. He married her. Kemen shegias mano. The time came to pay up the loan, and the master did not have what to pay. He says, work it off, wash the dishes, work as a butler in my house. So it ended up the apprentice and the master's wife, they were sitting and eating and drinking. And he was the butler for them. He was so sad that tears would come out of his eyes and fall into their cups of wine. Also, Shah Nischatem Gzardin. This happened before the Churban Bayis. Because of this incident, it was sealed the Gzardin, the Churban Bayis. Some say it was not because he was crying necessarily, or the devious act this person did is the fact that he committed adultery. Shtei Psilos is a reference to two of the man's Evarim with Ne'er Echa with one woman. She committed adultery with the apprentice. Back to the Gemara. Finished the Churban, now it's time to party. Still in the 3 weeks. We mentioned in the Mishnah that during the time when the Romans came, or even after that time when the Roman government had control of Eretz Yisrael, so sakrikon stands for sakarka. They're extortionists. They say, I'm going to kill you. You should take my land, don't kill me. Right? So when you do that, so basically there was a lot of laws that were instituted in the previous Mishnah, but the final law, this is what we're going to deal with now, the final law is that the first 12 months, right, the Sikrikon, this person, this non-Jewish person, this Roman takes it, he sold it to somebody else. So you have a right to purchase it back during the first 12 months after the Sikrikon took it from the person who bought it, meaning the original owner has the right to buy it back if he wants. After 12 months, he cannot no longer buy it back, but he gets a fourth of the purchase price, or of the land, we'll see in the Gemara, from the person who bought it. So Amar Rav Lo Shanu, and the Mishnah said also that if you went ahead and you asked, you wanted to purchase it back, right? So you needed the permission both of the sikrikon, this person, extortionist, and you needed permission of the person who bought it. So if you went originally to the sikrikon, he agreed, and then you went to the person who bought it, so then you could buy it. But if you went in the opposite order, because the person who consented, right, meaning we're talking about the person who bought it from the sikrikon, right? If he went to bought it from the sikrikon and then he said, I'm going to buy it again from the original owner, and he paid him for it, it's not consent, because he really wants it. Like, he's just afraid. Doesn't want to go against the sikrikon, the non-Jew, otherwise he'll kill him. That's only if when he goes to the original owner, he says, yes, you could have it. Go and acquire it through a kinyan chazaka. There's 3 ways of being kona land: kesef, shtar, and chazaka. The Gemara says in Mesechus Kedushin. Go and change the land, work the land a little bit. You're kona. But shtar, but if he writes a whole document, kona, then he obviously shows that he's willingly give it to him. The Shmuel Amar ap shtar amilo kona. Even if he writes a shtar, it's not enough of proof that he's consenting to give the land. He has to write in the shtar that if this land is taken from you by one of the people that I owe money to, right, I'll reimburse you. Then for sure, if he's writing achrayas, it shows that he really consents. Top of Nun Chem Beis. Tani Kavasi the Shmuel, a brisa accords with Shmuel. Rishon Elazar Omer, lakak min aisha, chazar lakak min ish. That's what the Mishnah says. First, you buy a land from the wife, right? Because she is going to get the land if the husband divorces her, or he dies first. She would collect her ksuva. She collect from any of his land. So he gains the right to the land from the isha, that she waives her rights to the land. Chazar lakak min ish mekal kayim, right? Because the woman's not just doing it to consent to her husband. She's not afraid of her husband. She was the one who said it first. Min ha'ish v'chazar lakak min isha. In the reverse direction, mekal bato. We assume the woman didn't really consent. Until the woman writes a shtar, but not just a shtar, also achrayas, right? That she'll reimburse if one of her creditors comes and takes the land, she'll reimburse him. Name it to have it used to Rav. Say it's a refutation of Rav. Amar lecha Rav, my achrayas. Achrayas means nami shtar. It doesn't mean a real achrayas, just a shtar. A shtar also is a willingness of consent. Tana Rabbana lakach min sikrikon. Bryce says you bought from a sikrikon, but achla shalosh shanim b'nei bailim. And the original owners, right, who was taken from them, they witnessed this purchaser from the sikrikon using the land for 3 years. Now, normally in Mesechus Bava Basra, you learn if there's disputed land and you've had the land for 3 years without someone making a claim, it belongs to you. If you can validate how you got it, you can make a claim. Someone sold it to you. There's some reason why you should have this land. If no one makes a claim for 3 years, you lose the right to protest. The chazar of a machra. And then the person had it for 3 years. He sold it la'acher. And l'baylim alokeach sheni klum. The original owners, even though technically they can go, normally have the ability to go and collect a fourth, right? After 12 months, you can collect a fourth from the purchaser, and the second purchaser not. Heichi damis. What's the case? Itakat toyin v'amar minach zavna afilu rishon nami. If the person says, right, the second purchaser says that I bought it from you, meaning and you paid, right, and you already paid the fourth, right? The first purchaser they paid the fourth already. I feel the rishon nami, right? Even the first person. Why does that take a case where he sold to a second person? Even the first person, if you pay a fourth, you get to keep the land. If he's not saying that the first person paid a fourth, afilu sheni nami lo. Why does it make a difference for the second person? He should also have to pay the fourth. Amar Rav Sheshes lo delokatoin. Really, he's saying there's no record of anyone saying they paid a fourth. In this case, sometimes based in advance is a claim for a yoresh or a lokeach. There's special rules that a yoresh has and a lokeach has. For example, if someone sits on land for 3 years and no one makes a protest, you get to keep the land. But you have to prove somewhat validly how you have that land. Either someone sold it to you, or gave it to you as a present, or you have a Yerusha. However, that's only for the first person. If he dies and leaves that land to inheritors, or he sells it to someone else, they don't have to prove it. They don't have to prove that the Shalosh Shanim is good enough. So therefore, we make better claims for the Yorish and the Lokeach. Here also, we'll make a better claim for the Yorish and the Lokeach, and say they don't have to pay the fourth. V'idach, he tie in, v'lo tie in low. The other person, he has to make a claim that he paid the fourth. If he doesn't make a claim, that's not good enough. He has to pay the fourth. Tanarabbanan, haba machmas chov u'machmas an paros ein bo mishum sikrikun. There's different cases. Sikrikun is a case where basically the non-Jew is going to kill you. Let's say that you owed money to a non-Jew. I'm not talking about a time of war. He wasn't going to kill you, but you owed him money, so you paid him with land, right? Really, you wanted to keep the land, but you had to pay off your land. U'machmas an paros, or he stole it from you. He stole the land from you, deceived you, stole the land. Ein bo mishum sikrikun. The dinim of sikrikun did not apply. And in case of thievery, you have to wait 12 months. So the Gemara says, Ein ba mishum sikrikun. If there's no sikrikun, right, the whole concept of 12 months is only a case of sikrikun. Anpros is not a case, it's just he stole, he was deceived, it wasn't a time of extortion. It wasn't going to kill you. Hakikam, this is what the Bryce means. Sikrikon atzma it's the wrong word. Sikrikon needs 12 months. These two things don't need 12 months. And we'll see in a second what this means. It basically means that, right, after 12 months, you've given up your right to redeem that land by sikrikon. Because we assume that, you're going to be killed, so you really wanted to give away your land. But when a non-Jew collects the money as a chov, you don't really want to give the land. You want to give him the land now and be able to get it back. Or someone steals it from you. You have not given a hope on the land. So since you always want the land back, there's no rule of 12 months. After 12 months, the person gets to keep it. No, the person doesn't get, if he purchases it from the non-Jew. Even after 12 months, if I have the money to buy it back, 3 years, 4 years later, I could buy it back in those cases. Amar Rav Yosef, there's no concept of stealing land in Bavel. There is, of course, lands are stolen. There is thievery in Bavel. The halachas on paros don't apply in Bavel. My time, there's a court system there. Below Azil, people don't go to the court system. There's a non-Jewish court system. Kabul, Ema, lo Azil Kabul, he's not going and making a claim. Ema achuli achil. We assume that he waived his right, and therefore he has waived his right to go repay for that land and collect it back. Gidol bar Eli, Kabil Ara Betaska. Apparently there was a situation where people owned, let's say, a property, a joint real estate project. They had an apartment building, a set of buildings, and they paid a real estate tax, and each of them paid part of the real estate tax. Maybe baga from the place of baga. There was one person who went on vacation, went away. So they said whoever, right, will pay the real estate tax, he can get a portion, this person's portion, in the rent money or whatever. So the person, he paid ahead for 3 years. They only asked 1 year. He says, I'll pay for 3 years. The guy's probably not coming back. I have the money now. I'll pay for 3 years. I'll get all the rent, or my portion of the rent, for 3 years. L'sov asam arvasa kamai. The guy came back after 1 year. Amri lei, they said to him, Shasa kamaisa dihabat achla. Right? The first year that you paid the real estate tax, you got your rent, the rent money. Hashta anan yavinan anan achlina. Now we were the real people involved in the real estate project. We left for a while. We weren't paying the real estate tax. Now we're back. Right? This guy threw away 2 years worth of real estate tax. And who is benefiting it from? All the people in development. They got extra money for the real estate tax. They had to pay less. If you collect from them, you're making. Sikrikon is only a unique deal that applies when this time of war, people are taking your land, they're threatening to kill you. It only applies in that case. It doesn't apply in all these other cases where you just get to get your money back. You don't just get to say, oh, this person, by his own volition, gave money for 3 years. You can't go and reclaim that. So the Greek one is within 12 months, you can reclaim the land if you pay for it. Like the Gemara says in Maseches Ktubos, it was his fault. He left his money on the head of a deer. The deer ran away. You shouldn't have laid out the money. And then the Mishnah says, The final halacha is that anyone who purchases from the Sikrikun, right, you give a fourth back to the original owner. Amar Rav, what is a fourth? How much do we evaluate the fourth? Rav says, Ravia b'karka or Ravia b'mos. Really, according to Rav, basically it's the purchase price, right? Normally real estate has a certain inherent value. You go to a person who is able to appraise real estate, and then normally it commands a higher price in the real estate market. That's just the way it is. Real estate, its inherent value is always worth less. The appraised value is always worth less than the going price. People who take out mortgages know about that. So Rav says it goes based on the purchase price, right? You evaluate the purchase price, and you can give that either a fourth of that in money or a fourth of that in the land, the value in the land. The Shmuel Amar Ravia b'karka shein shlish b'mos. Shmuel says no, that you evaluate it actually based on the appraisal, the actual value of the real estate, right? Which, when you translate it into money, it's going to be a lot more money, a shlish of the actual retail value on the market. The Micah Mifli, what are they arguing about? Mar Savar Nechi Riva Zavin, Mar Savar Nechi Chumsha Zavin. Right? Shmuel held, right, basically it's 1/4 of the land. And he says it's really 1/5 of the land, which turns into 1/4 of the purchase price. Mezive, they asked a question on Shmuel. He pays back a fourth. Yad Bailam al Yona. The Bailam, right, the original owners, they can do whatever they want. Ratzu b'karka no, then ratzu b'mos no, they can take karka, they can take mos. Emasai, when is this part? That's when they don't have the ability to buy back the entire property. They could buy back everything. Rabbi Hoshid based him in Nimnushim. Right, he instituted this final takana that if 12 months had already elapsed after the Zikrikon had taken it, anyone who could buy it, who wants to buy it, could buy it. He doesn't have a right, the original owner doesn't have a right to go and purchase it back. Whoever purchases it has to pay a fourth of the value of the land, or Ravia most. So you see Ravia Karka Ravia sounds like Rob's explanation. Really, it goes by the purchase price, a fourth of the purchase price. Amar Rav Ashi, Kisanya hi la'achar shabo mos liyodo. Rashi answers, no, it could even fit with Shmuel. Right? Really, you go and you base it a fourth of the appraised value, right, which is a third of the value of the purchase price. The Brisa, when it says Ravia b'karka Ravia b'mos dala, what Rab meant, it means when you evaluate the karka, which is 1/4 of the land, so then the remaining value that you give to him, if you want to convert that into money, it would be Ravia b'mos, be a fourth of the money, which is basically a fourth of the value of the actual appraised value of the land. We'll stop with that today. Stay tuned for Ian with Ben Sion coming up next, where I'm going to discuss something that I haven't thought about yet, because I have not prepared Ian with Ben Sion. Usually I prepare Ian with Ben Sion while learning the daf. I forgot to prepare it, so I'm going to have to think about it for a couple minutes and then give the share. Ian with Ben Sion, nonetheless, will be coming up next.